fight. I do like that matchup.
Yeah, I like that matchup also. I think the build-up would be good. And I was extremely impressed with Richardson. I think it was probably his
Looks like I got Jake on the
okay.
line, champ. Jake, are you there?
Yes, sir. What's going on, this?
What's going on, brother? Thank you for taking out the time to join us. We're just
Yeah, man.
talking,
Sorry about
man.
that.
Nah, no worries, bro. No worries. We were just talking about yesterday's fights and what's next. Obviously, Keith Conley has mentioned that it looks like Montana Love is next for Richardson Hitchens, and if he could get past that, Tiafimo. We won't go too far into the top rank match room, and we'll stick with Montana Love and what you think is next for
Right.
Shadasia Green, who I feel made the statement of the weekend. Yeah, man, just your thoughts on this
Yep.
weekend's fights.
Yeah, man. Look, this card was another banger. I was supposed to be there. I was annoyed that I wasn't. I had the privilege of being there for the Katie Taylor the Serrano fight. So that was an incredible atmosphere. And just from everything I saw from this weekend, it looked like it was a lot of the same. I love the way New York finally came out. They're responding to Amanda. It's been a long time coming for her. And then, like you mentioned, our girl Shadasia, I've known her a long time. It was great to see. It's great to see someone get the opportunity and then fully take advantage of it. She made a statement. She knew that with the win, that Franchon Cruz is going to be next, and she went out there and truly earned that title shot. I mean, I thought it was pretty boss that she went in there and fought a former champ. She could have fought anyone on this card for her debut on the MVP, but she fought a former champ and just really got the job done. Man, I was very proud of her, and I can't wait for her fight with Franchon to answer an earlier question. That will be next. That fight will be mandated, and we will be seeing that fight next.
So you don't think that Franchon gets her voluntary because she was approved for a voluntary. I did speak to the promoter of Hannah Gabriel's. That fight is done, but they even got a possible date of April 8th. I just don't have a venue or network. I don't know if you've heard anything, and if you have you heard that it fell apart?
I haven't heard that it fell apart. The problem with Franchon, so she won the title last year. She was supposed to be on the Matchroom, and obviously she hasn't fought since then. I don't know what the issue is. I don't know why they haven't picked up the options. I mean, you talk about a fighter that is the whole package. She could fight. She can do so many things outside the ring. She's got charisma for days, but she just hasn't been able to get in the ring. So I have heard the Hannah Gabriel's fight. I heard it was going to be March. Then I heard it was going to be April. And then I know, like I said, Shadays is lurking. She's the mandatory. So if that fight isn't on paper, then the sanction bodies, they're going to want to know what's next for her. They might threaten to order that fight. So I hope she's able to get both fights. I hope Shadays is able to get a little more exposure. But my understanding was that the sanctioning body, if they didn't have firm confirmation that Franchon had that fight, a firm fight date, location, everything, that they were going to go ahead and order the fight.
What's your preference? Obviously, like you said, you know Shadasia a long time. Would you prefer her to go straight into her mandatory, or do you think a little bit more seasoning under the lights? I mean, she performed fantastic. I didn't really see the lights get to her. Her composure, catching the shots and countering was amazing. But would a Raquel Miller interim fight, and by interim I don't mean title, even though both her titles will be on the line. I mean an interim fight until Franchon does what she does with, Gabriel's, if that is possible.
Yes, I'm going to say it from the other side. Look, I'm sure you agree. I think Shadays is ready right now. Like I said, if you go ahead, you're waiting for a shot and you beat a former champ who's just one fight removed from her own title reign. I mean, she's ready. She's ready right now. I want to see Franchon get in the ring. She deserves to get at least that voluntary defense. I mean, it's not fair that she's been waiting and the business side has frozen her out. So, um, if that fight is, look, if they have to fight each other next, that's fine. I like both of them. I don't know who I'm going to root for in that fight. I probably just won't root at all. But I'd like to see Franchon get at least that voluntary defense before going to that mandatory. I think Shadasia is going to be ready no matter when that fight. I think if she takes a fight or two, it's only going to make her that much more dangerous.
Now, Franchon tweeted out on fight night, "I'm not her." What's your thoughts
Right.
and interpretation of her tweet?
Like I said, she's just, I think, the business of boxing is just always, I don't know what it is, man. When she was in Golden Boy, like she got to a certain point and then they just never pushed her. She got to Matchroom. She got, the Undisputed Championship, the only one to do it at super middleweight on the female side. And that it's like she always just gets to that point and then nobody wants to take it to that next level. So, she's just out here, she's got it. She knows she has to do it on. It's been that way for her. And now she wants to take her career in her own hands.
So, and what's your thoughts? Obviously, for those of us that are keeping score, Franchon went 10 with Cederoos and Shadasia to
First
knock
one,
that tree down.
first one to stop her.
Yeah, look, Shadasia, she's just different, man. And, there's not a lot of knockouts when we see the women in the ring. Shadasia, they were talking about Alicia being, pound for pound the hardest puncher in the sport. Maybe she is. I think Shadasia is going to prove to be in that conversation, though. So they're just, they're two different fighters. Franchon is just someone that's going to outclass you for 10 rounds, kind of, not unlike Claressa Shields, which is Franchon's only loss. Claressa, just because she's not knocking women out, that was the whole selling point that, Claressa beat you 10-0, Savannah Marshall lays you out. Who won that fight, though?
And a pretty easy, convincing win for Clarissa. Jake, want your thoughts on both ladies this weekend that headlined, the main card? Obviously, Amanda becoming the first Puerto Rican undisputed champion. Your thoughts there, and so many great things in store for her, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, look, it's no secret. I got a fantastic relationship with Amanda, with Jordan Maldonado. I know them a long time. So I was thrilled to death. If someone had to make history for Puerto Rico, it had to be Amanda. So I was thrilled to death for her. But, Erica came to fight. I mean, that was, this is 2 years in a row now where Amanda has, the fight of the year, or at least, the leading contender for fight of the year. So, credit to Erica. Amanda, it wasn't hyperbole either. She knew it was going to be a tough fight. Erica had a very high engine. Weird stuff going on in her corner. I know even leading up to the fight, like there was just like certain, I don't know, I don't know if there was things going on with her where she didn't allow it to become a distraction, but it was just like tough to get a hold of her, and then just in her corner, like yelling at her corner in between rounds.
Yeah,
It was just very strange on her side.
that
But
was
yeah,
a
no, that
little
was,
odd, yeah.
yeah, and it kind of lined up with all the frustration she was going to leading up to the fight. Like, I don't know if she even expected this fight to be next. I know it was something she asked for, but I think in her mind, maybe she was going to be built up a little bit more by Matchroom. And then even with we knew going in that there was a great chance of Amanda fighting Katie Taylor with a win. It just seemed like the whole night they already had that ready. Amanda did her job, but I think Erica just kind of felt like maybe she was thrown in there. She was the sacrificial lamb. We didn't even hear from her after the fight, unless I don't know if she was at the post-fight interview. I didn't get to see that. I mean, the post-fight press conference. But, I guess she just kind of felt disrespected, and maybe that carried over in the ring a little bit, like with her own team. But like I said, she handled herself very well. Elima Mekhaled, managed by my very dear friend Serafina. I thought, she earned another fight. It's a shame because she had a great fight against Delphine Pursoon, came up just short. She gave a great effort against Alicia. Obviously, Alicia deserved to win, but it was a night where we want to see, all four of them fight again. I think I want to see Erica fight again. I want to see Elham, and then obviously great things on the horizon. We know Amanda's fighting May 20th. Alicia, I hope she gets that homecoming that she truly deserves. She's saying she wants the Michaela Mayer rematch. I would like to see her fight Choi if Choi is willing. And then like that could be her homecoming fight, and then we go to the big Michaela Mayer rematch.
Wasn't
So
Choi
lots of options.
stripped?
Really forth.
So yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I mean, Choi didn't want this fight, right? So do we see her?
Not
Right.
didn't want. She's allegedly injured, but didn't she get stripped, or she has some sort of interim franchise?
She's the champion of recess, and so Alicia is the one that pushed for this fight. So once the WBA they started their one boxing program, that's what led to Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz being ordered. So Alicia filed suit and said, "Well, you know what? I'm going to either fight Choi or I'm going to get her belt." Choi didn't, she came up with the excuse at the convention. She gave up a title basically, so she has the right to fight for the title whenever she wants to get back. But now it's going to be Alicia. So okay, well, you know what? I'm undisputed. I want to fight Choi. I want to enforce this mandatory. If Choi's not ready, then she just needs to keep getting out the way. So everyone who's tried to fight Choi has had the same conversation in the end. They just can't get her in the ring, and it's like there's no place for that in this era. All the time, the credit that women are getting is that they're all fighting each other. All the best are getting in the ring, and Choi is the one who's off to the side. Like it's almost like she's a decade behind. Like she should have been like in the 2000 and 2010s, that Lucia Riker, Layla Ali era, where it's like they were great fighters, but they just couldn't get that big fight. Like Choi is kind of, I don't know, she's just not built for this era.
So let me ask you. I'm just curious. I cover Alicia closely. I've been out to Detroit, to see her in camp with Tony. Where does the homecoming fall for her, right? She's from Fremont, Ohio, like dead smack between Toledo and Cleveland, but it seems like most of the boxing world thinks she's from Detroit.
I mean, Ohio.
Obviously, she holds camp, up there with Tony, but it's like I'm hearing that the fight may be coming to Detroit. Is that what you're hearing, Jake? Is that what you believe happens?
I'm trying to think like how Matchroom would think, and they would probably want to go to Detroit. I don't know if you guys ever been to a Robert Easter fight in Toledo. That's a fun fight down too, though. So I think either option would be fine. If they want to package it maybe with a Montana Love fight, then yeah, maybe you could bring it to Cleveland. I think Alicia is at a point where any three of those locations, her fans are going to follow her.
Where does she go from here, right? She's undisputed now. Let's say she has her homecoming fight. Do you think it's smart for her to stay at 30 and entertain any fights there, or do you think the more appealing names are at 35 for her?
I thought it was funny that like Michaela Mayer, her one complaint about Alicia was that she has stamina issues, that she has to, I guess train better in that regard. Because Alicia is probably the most fit athlete, male or female. I mean, her ability. I mean, she just has literally no problem. Fighters say they have no problem making weight. I mean, she eats, like
Whatever
4 or
she
5
wants.
meals.
Yeah,
She doesn't have any.
She
Yeah, that's what I'm
eats.
saying. Right. That's everyone like who's been around her. They're like they can't be around her because they're trying to make weight, and she's like, I don't care. So she has that look. She wants to stay at 130. Obviously, the Michaela Mayer rematch is the most it's the most lucrative. She's staying with Matchroom. Then the winner of Katie and Amanda, that rematch. It's like I said, if she could be Matchroom's next star, so that's an option for her. She mentioned to me she would love to. She'd be fine fighting Chantel Cameron. So anyone from 130 to 140.
Jake, are you interested in Dublin, Ireland, or do you have reservations about going out there? Is that something you even considered? Like, oh, it's happening in Ireland. I'm going to cover this fight live.
That's a good word. I had literally just reserved my flight, so yeah,
Oh, wow.
I'm perfectly fine. Yeah, so actually got a cousin out there, well, not in Dublin, but in Ireland. So we're gonna make it. That's gonna be our vacation this year. So I'm trying to go out there for 2 weeks, but I can't wait. The only thing that stinks is I know the whole issue with Croke Park. Eddie and Katie's team. They all said like the costs were like 3 times what they.
Yeah, educate
What's
us
that?
more. Educate us more because I find it hard to believe that a stadium that you're expecting 90,000 people for, you can't generate the $500,000 fee.
For
And
security.
I'm with you.
and now we need Mr. Proper 12 himself to come save the day.
It could have
Yeah,
been
man, I saw that.
publicity stunt, though, right? Like, it gets, the Irish guy who's big over there, connected with the girl. I don't know.
I mean, well, it's funny that you mentioned publicity stuff. I mean, maybe they could shame, Croke Park into, just lowering the cost. That could be it. I mean, Croke Park is not going to lose money either way. I don't understand why it's 3 times the cost, but that was the complaint. They said that, that was their intention all along, but then it came time to execute. All of a sudden, that, Croke Park came with this price, and to them, it became a non-starter. I think it's a shame. They're talking about 3 Arena. Originally, I think they were talking about if they couldn't make the Amanda fight, they said maybe they kind of do a test run. They just let Katie have her homecoming. And they said, well, you know what? Maybe we only have one shot at this, and if we do, we want to get it absolutely right. But to have it at 3 Arena, I felt like that just could have been her homecoming last year. And then, it builds up to, a Croke Park fight, no matter the cost. I just feel like a fight like that is going to need a bigger venue. Like I said, if Katie's fans are willing to travel, to New York and, wherever else she fights, they're going to fill up that arena in a hurry. You're going to have to sell those tickets at like an extremely high price just to justify not having it at Croke Park, even with the additional cost.
But as of right now, I mean, it is set for Croke Park, no?
That's what they're saying.
No,
That's what they said yesterday.
They said May 20th in Dublin. They did not say Croke Park.
You're right about that.
Oh, wow. So you're saying it's
Yeah.
not, as of right now, it's not for Croke Park. It's for an arena?
It's for somewhere, they said an arena to be named in Dublin. Yeah.
Well, let's see what arenas are in Dublin. Wow. So that changes
I
everything.
hope
for me.
Croke Park I hope Croke Park blinks and finds that's going to be a massive that's going to be a PR disaster for them if Katie's going to be fighting in Ireland and they're not going to be the ones to host it.
While he's looking
That's not
for
a good look.
that, can you, because I'm not a history guy, so like at this point, is it too soon for us to say Shadasia Green is our generation's Ann Wolf? And am I going too far by saying possibly better? I know Ann Wolf has already fought Layla and all that stuff.
She never fought Layla.
Oh, well, perfect then. So that means Shadasia's there, right? Because she ain't fight Clarissa or Franchon. So, like, I need you to tell me, since you got the history, What did Ann Wolf do? Who did she beat that makes her or makes Shadasia not better yet?
I mean, look, I don't even. Shadasia's on the way up. I don't like comparing fighters, especially fighters that are on the rise, to fighters whose career we already seen. I think if we saw them both at the same time, Shadasia is light years ahead of Ann Wolf.
Thank
You know,
you.
Ann Wolf just
Skill
had,
wise, right? You
yeah,
mean skill wise,
skill,
right?
yeah,
That's what I said.
skill, hell yeah, yeah. Ann Wolf, I don't know, like she wasn't it really until like that knockout of Von der Ward, like went
The
viral.
tall lady,
That's
right?
still replayed. Yeah, 20 years later, man, like that clip is still played as one of the greatest knockouts of all time. But she was just this feared fighter. But I don't know if the accomplishments were ever there. Like she wasn't even the first ballot Hall of Famer because of it. Like, but the way people speak about her, you'd think she was like one of, like she was the GOAT. She's not.
Exactly.
Like I would say, I'd pick a lot of fighters right now that would rank ahead of her historically. I do think Shadasia Green will go on to have accomplished a lot more than Ann Wolf
Yeah,
has.
I mean, I think granted they just still got ways to go, but she's only had one
Yeah,
fight that didn't that went the distance. Bro, Ann was
right.
only at like a 60 or 62%.
That's what I'm saying. They get caught up in the myth of Ann Wolf. They not like looking, but it's okay. It's okay.
So
I think a lot of
Shadasia,
fighters back in that era too. Like I even throw like Lucia Riker in there. Like if you talk to anyone, especially on the men's side, like who knew about any women in sport, they would say Lucia Riker is the greatest fighter of all time. I think she had the potential to be the greatest fighter of all time. She never had the opportunity. The industry really screwed her over. But you can't. I don't know. Like I don't like rating it that way. It's like I'm all about accomplishments. Like people scoff at Clarissa Shields saying she's the GOAT, but she's beaten. I mean, she's racking up wins against the best of her era, and with the exception of Savannah Marshall, she's doing it very easily.
no, I give Clarissa all the credit in the world because she did an interview with Brian Custer, mentioned Shadasia's name before she was bubbling, and then the night
After
of
the
the
fight,
fight,
yeah.
mentioned Shadasia's name again as a possible opponent, saying, Eddie, bring her on. So, I respect that young lady. She's super young, still in her 20s, and still
Yeah,
wants all the smoke. So there's nothing like Clarissa, but I want that fight. I want that
yeah,
fight. I want that
yeah.
fight because they went to camp together. They were. She brought Shadasia Green into camp a while ago, so I don't know how that went, but I want that fight.
Jake, I wanted to
Yeah.
ask you. We're talking May 20th. Obviously, that is the date for Amanda
Yep.
Katie too. I wanted to ask you about the weekend prior. Are you hearing anything for the weekend prior, May 13th?
No, I have not heard anything
Okay,
firm on
okay.
that date.
The reason I'm asking, we just had Brian Norman Sr., father to Brian
True.
Norman. He gave us May 13th as a return date for Brian Norman, obviously who just got picked up by Top Rank
Hmm.
on a card in New Orleans, and I'm like, well, shit,
Got to be Tio.
Regis is there, and so I text a couple people over at Top Rank, and they kind of just
Laugh.
yeah, they kind of just LOL, we'll see. You know what I'm saying? So I wanted to ask you if you've heard anything
Got to
because
be that Tio Regis getting built, huh?
Man, please don't tell me that fight's gonna happen. I would love that. New Orleans is not too far from me. Nah, the only thing I'm trying to track is like the Haney Lomachenko, because oddly enough, that May 20th is a date I've heard for
correct.
that as well. So I'm sure May 13th will just be like an ESPN show leading up to a bigger ESPN show. But so I don't know if it's gonna be Teo and Regis. That'd be fantastic.
What's the deal with Haney Lomachenko? I mean, we're in February, no announcement. Does it seem like we have enough time? I mean, obviously we have enough time for an announcement, but did you expect an announcement, or are they still within, a comfortable bubble where they can still work things out and then announce?
I kind of feel like the same things happened leading into the Haney Kambosos rematch. I think Devin just wants to be properly represented in all this. I think that's the bottom line. I'm pretty confident we're gonna get that fight. So just like I don't think anyone thought the Kambosos rematch wasn't gonna happen. Unless Lomachenko completely walks away, I don't see why we won't get that fight. I'm not too worried about that one. The one I keep my eye on is really I know it has nothing to do with Top Rank, but Tank and Ryan Garcia. That one, that's getting close, especially if they're going to stick to that April 15th date. I don't know how firm it is, but if that's the date, we're 10 going on 9 weeks out now. So, Haney and Lomachenko, we still got about, a good 3 months for them to build that up.
Do you believe that? Because I've been on the record, Jake. I spoke to I spoke to Mr. Davis myself. Like, I've been on the record. I think this fight is the only fight in the sport right now that can be hosted at Allegiant Stadium.
No, I
Now,
think it's. I love. Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, but I loved when I heard talks for that fight. That's like the perfect first boxing event to take place at that stadium.
How
how
would you do
likely?
those tickets sell? Oh, go ahead.
How likely? How likely? Do you think we are? Um, how likely do you think we are to get that in there?
They seem pretty serious about it. They want to put it at the biggest venue possible. Obviously, if you, again, like going back to, with Katie and Amanda, put it at a small arena, you got to charge, absurd ticket prices. It's going to look, ticket for Tank and Ryan Garcia is going to be high anyway. But if you put that at a capped venue like MGM or T-Mobile, you're going to have to charge just that much more. So, I don't know if they'll sell out Allegiant, but I think they're going to do a massive crowd there. That's going to be a massive gate.
And see, and that's fine. They don't gotta sell out. Nobody's selling stadiums
But why?
out.
But why not? Why not?
Because bro.
Because me and Danny had this conversation, and I'm like, why can't we just price these stadium tickets properly? Like, why are there only $2,050 tickets with, 70-something thousand seats? Like, you got the whole 100 yards to put the rich people. Like, why do you think it can't sell out?
Well, again, it goes back to I'm with you with that. Look, I'm of the mentality I'd rather have pizza with 1,000 than caviar with 10. Boxing just doesn't think that way though, for whatever reason. But I'm with you. I thought even like Canelo and Billy Joe Saunders, I thought those tickets were priced in a way where they could draw the crowd that they did. So I would love to see them do the same thing with Tank and Ryan Garcia.
For sure. You think they can get to that at least 60, 70 that Canelo, because Canelo did 66 paid and 73 with comps, right?
Right. Yeah, exactly.
In a bigger stadium.
I think Vegas, I think they could do 50 at least.
How many of those 50,000 you think we get at $40 to $50 tickets before taxes and all that?
Oh, I gotcha. Oh man, I don't know. I can't predict that. Boxing tradition says that a fight like this, they're gonna price those. They're gonna price them extremely high. So I'm more concerned about them just getting the fight done at this point, because they said they promised us 3 months ago it was a done deal, and then now here we are 3 months later. There's still certain things that they're haggling over that shouldn't hold up the fight, but we've seen it too many times. So that's the announcement I really need above anything else.
So my producer is telling us to double down on ask you about Tio and Regis, because he's saying that someone tweeted Saturday night that fight is next, either Tio or Regis. Did you see any of that? Oh shit!
I'll believe that. I don't know, man. Just the same problem with why we didn't get Regis and Jose Ramirez is the same problem we're not going to get Regis and Teofimo Lopez.
I think your camera shut off. I don't know.
Oh, I'm sorry. My bad.
There you go.
My bad.
So you're saying it's just too expensive to make that fight happen?
And no, it's not too expensive. It's just the parties involved. It's like Top Rank very clearly doesn't want to do business with the people surrounding Regis Prograis until that situation changes.
Didn't they just have a Probellum fighter on air? Like, literally. Someone in the chat is going to help me, but I promise you there was just a Probellum fighter on Top Rank. Give it a few minutes and they'll tweet. They'll put it in our live chat. While we get that information, any word on Jared Anderson, opponent for April 8th, bro?
No, I know they're having a hard time, man. They've been asking a lot of names to get that fight. I don't know if it's a money issue or these guys just don't want to fight him yet. So
did you hear what's the amount?
It was Paul Butler who just fought Inoue.
There you go. Paul Butler fought Inoue for undisputed Probellum, and they ain't had no issues with that because they knew he was going to win.
Top Rank was not involved in those negotiations, though. So I've said this on a show too. So I'm going to rewind.
It's still on their network.
Right. They're directly involved in negotiations. They shouldn't be. Look, there are easy ways to make fights happen. We just saw Amanda Serrano and Erica Cruz fight. Jake Paul and Eddie Hearn are suing each other right now, but they didn't stand in the way of that fight happening. So Top Rank just needs to find a way to make these fights happen. I get it. They are in a position they can keep sticking it to Probellum, more so sticking it to Richard Schaefer. But that's going to be the whole thing. Until Regis has representation beyond that, he's not going to get anyone at Top Rank,
So
other than
the
maybe a Sacramento
the
man.
tweet was actually Regis saying make Barboza TO next. Do you think that happens in house?
It's going to have to. I mean, look, I've said this elsewhere too, that Teo, if none of these guys are going to fight Regis, they can't afford to not fight each other under the same roof. And I know Teofimo's had problems with Rick Meridian, Barbosa's manager, but like I said, you can't. He's not at a point where he's saying, "I'm not fighting this guy. I'm not fighting this guy," because then Top Rank is just going to be like, "Well, then you're not fighting at all." So, I said like after I wasn't blown away by Barbosa's win. I also don't think he's necessarily getting any better. I just think he's kind of there. And he's someone I wouldn't mind seeing him fight Prograis next. It's like let him fight. If he is going to get better at some point, let him take that fight. If he loses, he learns from it. If he wins, he's got the title. So for me, it's a no lose situation for him. So.
For sure. Anything else you got? How realistic is the Shadasia Green Raquel Miller? I know at the WBC convention they were trying to make that into an eliminator. Have you heard anything?
I know Raquel Miller's last fight, I think it was supposed to be at middleweight, and then I don't know if she missed weight or they just moved the weight up to super middleweight. I don't know if she's campaigning at 168 though. So I mean, if she's a middleweight that has to fight at 168, that's a dangerous fight for her. Look, anyone at 168 really is dangerous. You're fighting Shadasia Green.
And Danny just did some research, and he's saying to go. Emmanuel to go is with Lou DiBella and Probellum, and he's getting the Keyshawn fight.
He's not a Probellum fighter, and Peter Khan negotiated that fight. So again, there are ways to make these fights happen. Right.
What's the deal with that fighter? I'm sorry to keep you so long, but Peter Khan had like a 2-0 fighter that fought in Venezuela and Colombia on the fucking card instead of Shadasia getting that airtime. She said she was supposed to be on before Richardson Hitchens. Do you know why Khan's 105-pound fighter got the TV slot before her?
You talking about Yankel Rivera?
Yes.
Yeah. Bro,
Yeah,
he's
didn't he just sign with Matchroom though?
I don't know. I thought that was a Khan fighter. So
I'm pretty sure he just signed with Matchroom, and that would be the reason. So.
Okay. And that's what I told you. I'm like, bro, they're not going to push it because she's MVP,
Yeah, and
she's an MVP fighter, correct.
What's that other Puerto Rican? They probably put him on TV so they could make that Oscar Golazo fight. Is that his name? Or Eric Golazo? That's probably why they put him on TV. That's probably why they put him on TV then, right? That's like a potential opponent, you think?
I don't know if they're thinking that way. It could be. I know Callaso's supposed to be fighting Melvin Jerusalem for the WBO belt next. So.
I wanted to double back. Sorry, because I didn't think he heard me. So you didn't hear any purse amount for potential opponents for Jared?
I don't, and that's why I don't get into like people saying he's ducking this fighter. It's easy to say someone's ducking you like if you're not matching the number that they need. But no, I don't. I can start asking. I feel like I tend to get lied to when I start asking about how much.
With your experience, is $250,000 too much money to ask for Jared? Is he commercially not there to pay his opponents $250,000 yet, in your opinion?
That's pretty expensive for an ESPN opener, especially like on triple headers. Like I don't even know if Keyshawn's opponents are getting $250 yet.
Okay. So damn.
So he's the opener and not the co-main for April 8th?
Yeah, Keyshawn's the opener. Yeah, Keyshawn's the co-main.
Co-main, okay.
And why was it not Nakatilia? Did you hear that? Because, I mean, Keyshawn sounded very adamant about wanting Jeremiah Nakatilia, and then, boom, we got to go.
There was actually another name that I heard for Keyshawn as well. I was a little surprised that it was Tego, but I think there were other plans for Nakatilia. He could wind up fighting Keyshawn Davis down the road, but I think they have something else for him in mind for his next fight.
Does Ortiz get that assignment? Because I know he's been wanting it too. He said that they offered it to him, he accepted it, and they turned it down, and it never came back around.
Yeah, that was the name I heard. I think we'll see him back on the Top Rank show. And again, I think all these guys will be in the Keyshawn Davis business. I just don't know the order.
Jake, last thing for me, big pay-per-view at the end of this month. Jake Paul, Tommy Fury. Aside of the event, I hear they're making a big push. They're trying to get a lot of big name celebrities out to Saudi to be present for this fight. How much
Yeah.
involvement does Top Rank have? Because obviously we go to the website, you see it on there, but how much involvement does Top Rank have, and what can be their future slash not just them but ESPN in this influencer boxing world, I guess.
To my knowledge, I think just Top Rank kind of signed off on the deal for the, for ESPN to pick up the pay per view. I don't
Right.
know if they're how much they're involved in this card, even if at all. I haven't even heard like any of the significant names that would land on the show. I don't know if they have anyone on the card, to be
Wow.
honest. Um, so I don't think they'll dive too far into that world.
Couple
This
more
is just
from
Jake Paul is in a place where he can negotiate with anything. Yeah.
couple more from the people. Ruin a 504 New Orleans says, "How difficult is it to limit your own personal bias as a boxing journalist?"
So I definitely do have my favorites. I'll say this: like last year when Katie Taylor and Amanda Serrano fought, I'm a huge fan of both of them. So that was easy to just kind of sit back and be like, you know what, I'm going to be a reporter. I'm not rooting for either one. There are certain fighters you get those relationships. It becomes tough, but I still have to be professional and do my job. And the people who I do roll with, they respect the fact that I do have to do my job.
So I know that because you're out in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, right outside of Nashville. Yep.
Okay, so we can't let you go without asking you about the David Benavidez Caleb Plant fight. Um, we
Yeah.
kept hearing March. Please tell me there was another venue? I mean, another date explored in that month, because they're doing it the same day as the fucking Elite Eight at T-Mobile and Taylor Swift at Allegiant. I think it's gonna be so hard to get casuals to come to that fight. Please tell me that this was like a last option to have it on March 25th.
Yeah. I never understood the date. I always heard it was going to be March 18th, and
That's
like of
what
all
we
the fights
heard.
that were kind of floated around, right? I was like, that date seemed perfect. It's like, minimal competition going on that night. Now you're competing against, like you said, a lot of things going on that night. And I like people were asking me in January, like, what do you hear? I said, look, all I'm going to tell you is if you really want to go to this fight, book a hotel room only because, I don't know when tickets are going to go on sale, but the chances are you're not going to get a hotel room anywhere near the strip if you wait too long to go to this fight. So I really, unless they just got a significantly better deal for that date, or I don't know what the logic was. And especially like, even with Showtime, I don't know if they're going to pick up the rights with Tim Tszyu and Tony Harrison, but if they do, that actually gives them 4 shows in a 5-week span. And that would have been perfect to have March 18th as that pay-per-view. That's, fantastic momentum. But
Jake, how
instead,
could
it's
you
at the
say
end of the
you
month, I'm
don't?
credit night, man.
How could you say you don't know? Is there really a world that exists where Showtime would let that fight like get picked up or not aired? What I mean,
And to me, it seemed like a no-brainer, but as of even 2 days ago, it's not a done deal yet.
that's
Yeah,
strange.
yeah,
That is
that's
strange and
boxing.
sad. I got Brandon in Houston and says update on Pitbull Cruz versus Edwin De Los Santos. What card do you see this happening on?
I think it's going to be its own card, actually. I don't think it's going to be on any of these pay-per-views.
I hear there's what, February 17th or March 17th?
What? I got the
Those
cal.
are Friday.
Yeah, those are both Fridays.
Hmm. I swear a fighter texted me talking about, yeah, I'm a PBC fighter. Like, yeah, I'm on February
Nah,
17th.
the 18th in
Oh,
Texas. Remember, we already got that sorted. It's on that San Antonio Shockey Foster Ray Vargas card, champ.
okay. All right, next one is from James Benitez in Alabama. Says, have you heard any news on Gary Russell's return? Also, why didn't Puello versus Gary Antoine happen?
That's
Man, I
conspiracy.
know. We just talked about this on show. I don't get it, man. Look. I'm of the opinion. When there's a fight to be made, you just go ahead and make that fight. They said, at the WBA convention, they got everyone excited that Pollo was going to be fighting, GAR. I went ahead and asked PBC. They said, nope, fake news. I'm like, well, then who's Gary Antoine Russell fighting? Radio silence. I don't know what the issue is that they're just not building those guys, but I don't know. I don't know. I know Gary Russell said he wants to come back, but he's a fighter with a high price tag. He really doesn't have a lot of leverage right now. I don't know, who or when he's going to fight.
So what's up with Rolly and Puello? I mean, his coach has been talking about that for at least
That's
3 months.
Yeah, that's the fight. I don't know about 3 months, but definitely been shit. Probably at least two. I'd say
I feel
2 months.
like
That 2 months
definitely
that
December.
that I've been hearing about that fight. About Rolly coming back to face Puello at 140 for the title.
I'm going to say this. I've heard that rumor for a while. It was like for a good 2 months. I never thought anything of it. Sorry. Um, for a good 2 months, I never thought anything of it. Then I do believe we're gonna get
Oh, you're cutting out there, Jake. I'm sorry.
PBC vehemently denied. Well, that was a fight in Gary Antoine Russell. That was the next question I asked. I'm like, well, what about Roll fight? Where weirdly I could see that as a Showtime main event. Okay. Yeah. Puello. I do think we're gonna get Puello and Rolly next to summarize.
All right, and the last one is, will the WBC allow Canelo to face Bivol a second time before facing his mandatory winner of Plant Benavidez? I'm sure that's yes.
Yeah, of course. The WBC is gonna. Yeah, they're gonna come out. Oh, people, ask for the exemption, and we're happy to honor it. It's completely BS that they even went this route of saying, these guys can't fight. The WBA. I was actually happy. Everyone got on the WBA. They said, oh, they gave in to Canelo. These bans shouldn't be in place to begin with. You can sympathize with what's going on. It's a shame. The whole war and everything. But boxing, you just kind of have to let them fight. To me, there's less justification to let Beterbiev fight than to let Bivol fight. So I don't. I love Mauricio dearly. I don't agree with him at all on this one.
What have you heard? When can we expect an announcement for Earl and Keith? And what are your thoughts on the fight being at 154?
I think it's a waste of time that the fight is outside of 147. May 27th is the date. Obviously, several people have reported that that's the date I've heard. I don't know why it hasn't been announced. I don't know if there's a certain pecking order for when these fights are announced, but any fight for Errol outside of 147 while he's still holding on to these titles is a waste of time, in my opinion.
Do you think they renege on that because of the backlash and do it at 47?
I don't know if it's like something that's up to Errol or I don't know where that decision came that said that fight was going to take place at 147. I know Keith, his team told me, they said that they're aware of everything that's going on. They're perfectly fine with whatever weight the fight takes place at as long as the fight takes place.
And this is clearly a
So
question.
I don't get it. I mean, yeah.
I was going to say this is clearly a question based off your opinion that I want to answer is like, Keith is only doing this because, you can't bite the hand that feeds. It's not like you're going to sue Al if the fight's not at 47, right? Like, this is not what he wants, in your opinion. He has to take it or sit on a shelf, no?
Yeah, exactly. Plus, he's getting a good payday. And, the fact that the fight is taking place outside the weight, it doesn't harm his position. Like, if he takes this fight, even if he loses, and Earl decides, you know what, I'm not getting the Terrence Crawford fight, I'm done with 147, Keith could still fight for that title anyway down the road. So, to me, he's kind of playing with house money. There's no big risk on his side.
Well, I think that's all my questions. Anything you got left?
I feel like I wanted to ask about one more, but shit, I guess that's it. Yeah. Fuck.
Richardson, Hitchens, and Love, you think it happens, or is there another
I do.
option for Richardson?
I guess it would be I don't even know for Richardson. I would say it'd kind of be up to Montana Love. I know when Keith had Richardson sign with Matchroom, that seemed to be the plan to always get to Montana Love. That was the momentum. Obviously, Steve Spark slightly ruined those plans. I think that fight is definitely one that should still happen, though. I love that the fact that they just don't like each other. I don't know if it's a Richardson thing where he wanted to just pick a fight with Montana. Montana seems like a pretty easy going guy to me. But I know when I spoke to Montana a month or two ago, he thought he was coming back in March. I haven't heard any firm update on that, so maybe he comes back in the spring. I don't know if he fights Richardson Hitchens right away. Maybe he gets one more fight and then they fight after that. But that was always the plan on Richardson Hitchens' side to get to Montana Love.
Oh, just curious, and I mean this is probably above your pay grade, Jake, but Yo, any idea why Top Rank didn't go to Phoenix next week? You know, when there's gonna be millions and millions and millions of people in town for the Super Bowl.
Uh, yeah, that's I know they've done that in the past too. They've had those like pre-Super Bowl shows. I don't know why it didn't happen.
Yo, it took
The show it seemed like it
the
did a little bit
British.
better than I expected, but I know
It did well. It did well, but I just couldn't. I couldn't
yeah.
fathom the idea. I'm like, yo, you guys are going to the Super Bowl city, and I thought it was the same weekend, and I'm like, yes, they got it right, because I've only seen Eddie do it, and Eddie had like a terrible
Yeah,
card, but everybody and their mother was in the house.
they also had the greatest weigh-in ever. I mean, that was like I never got drunk at a weigh-in. That was like the only time I ever did. So yeah, that was fantastic. It was also Jake Paul's pro debut on that card. Yeah, man. Yeah,
Well,
but I don't know. It could just be a cost issue, you know.
yeah, probably so. But that's it for me. Ness, you got anything?
That's it. I guess I'll squeeze this in and see and ask, do you know any other possible Jake Paul signings? I think he continues to sign the right people and give those, people opportunities that they wouldn't otherwise get. Like I couldn't picture a better promoter for Shadasia other than maybe Matchroom, because Eddie has the same popularity and reach. Obviously, Jake's social media platform is a lot bigger, so Shadasia, when he posts or he talks about it, he can actually force fights where it's a little bit different with Eddie. But any others you think MVP signing?
I think they're going to be selective with who they sign. Shadasia made sense because she and Amanda, they're very good friends. So I know, there was a little bit of push on that side too. But I think it's just going to be about relationships more so than, picking up fighters for the sake of signing them.
So did they absorb Victory Sports with Mike Leonardi, or was he just given a CEO position and his fighters don't fall under that banner? Because Mike Leonardi has Jeremiah Milton, like Giovanni Santiago. He's got like a bunch of undefeated fighters. What happens with those guys?
I don't know if just absorbing that whole. I don't think it was. I think Mike just accepted that role. But again, it's about those relationships. It's like Mike's in this position now. He can bring his fighters over, onto these shows. So it's not about just Jake Paul assuming that the entire payroll.
Well, Jake, man, we appreciate you coming on and giving us your time, man. I know you're on the road, so once again, just thank you. If you want to give out any social media or direct anyone to any websites, now is the time. And once again, we appreciate it.
Yeah, just follow me on Twitter on Jake in the Box. I'm there way too often, and then obviously all my content on Boxing Scene. So Ness, man, I always appreciate this, man. I was telling Brandon, it's like I always want to be on the show, but it's like I just can't. Like I work 2 jobs, so it's like those 5 minutes before can you jump on the show now? But I promise I will be a regular in the future.
I appreciate
Thank
it,
you,
man.
Jake.
Thank you so much. There you have it, ladies and
All right,
gentlemen.
thanks for having
Lead
me on.
writer for Boxing Scene, Jake Donovan, fighting the good fight. So make sure you follow him on all forms of social media. And what up, YouTube family? Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Help us get to that 1 million subscribers. We're on the road to 1 million. And obviously, we have other great content on our Patreon channel. So since this video is over, head on over to our Patreon and check out all the exclusive content, or right here on our YouTube members.